Hello, welcome to another episode of Josh Talks Vikes. I got like my best friend in the world over here, Peyton Bradshaw, back home in Nebraska, a verified Broncos expert, and he's here to tell us a little bit about the Broncos. We're going to break down some things. OTAs have been started, some jersey numbers have been assigned, and the rosters are switching up for both teams. So we're going to hear more from him. Peyton, would you like to start us off?
Oh, well, first off, I was actually at first I was not happy with the Broncos draft. Just seeing the picks come up, I was like, this is not what we needed. But now that I've kind of looked back into it, it's looking pretty good based off what these guys bring to the team. I've kind of learned to believe in what Sean Payton does, even though always on the surface it doesn't look great. But yeah, I thought went pretty well.
I remember you being frustrated about some picks, especially Jonah Coleman, but I thought
Yep.
he would be decent. Was he your first pick in this year's draft? Because I know you traded away most day one and day two
Uh,
picks.
No, he was actually our second pick. First one in the third round. I was already mad at this point because I wanted to take a second round pick. They took Tyler Onyedem, defensive tackle from Texas A&M, who honestly looks pretty good, and I believe will be a day one starter.
I was
Um,
very upset about Caleb Banks too, a defensive
yeah.
tackle, because he only played 3 games this year. But as I've been watching film, he really eats doubles. I'm sure this guy does too. Big defensive lineman in the
Um,
SEC, and once you get to see him work, it's easier to see why your teams picked him.
well, and I think it's our most pressing need right now, defensive tackle, after John Franklin Myers left.
Yeah,
But honestly, Onyedem's problem, really, from what I've seen, is he's undersized.
really.
He wants to play a defensive tackle position, and he's only 290 pounds, which, I mean, obviously, once he gets in the NFL system, he's going to get a lot bigger. But as of right now, that's his problem. But what he does do is he's fast, even though, which comes with kind of being small. And, he's a really good run defender, which is kind of what we need right now, if I'm being completely honest.
I was surprised. I mean, undersized defensive tackle, you'd think he'd be more of a speed rushing defensive tackle. But it seems like both of our teams are going back to basics. The Vikings
Mhm.
were ranked 21st in run defense,
Yeah.
which was really surprising to me last year. It seemed like they traded kind of their defensive tackle with Levi Drake. They swapped him out, Jalen Redmond, for two pass rushing defensive tackles, and Javon Hargrave, Jonathan Allen. And now both of those guys are out of the room. So I think they're kind of going back to the run stopping like the Broncos seem to be doing too.
Yeah, and, they did that with their, other pressing need, which was, if I'm talking in college football terms, a thumper middle linebacker,
Okay,
which
okay.
they waited all the way to the 7th round to get that. But, they got Red Murdoch from Buffalo, who's, he's got problems. Obviously, he's a 7th round pick, but, I'm actually very excited about him. Last 2 seasons, he had 140 plus tackles.
Wow.
Um, 17 forced fumbles in the last 3 seasons, 13 in the last 2 seasons, but, he struggles in the pass game.
Is
He only
he
runs.
is he like a tweener? Like is he like a kind of edge defender as well, in addition to a middle linebacker, or strictly off ball?
I'm not really sure. I thought he was off, like, I thought he was just like a traditional middle linebacker, but I'm not really sure. I can't remember, but he only runs a 4.7, so he's rough when it comes to the pass game. And he did add 5 sacks, so he could be sort of an edge rusher type. But I think he'll be a special teams contributor right away. So I was actually pretty okay with that pick. Also, with it looks like Jonah Ellis, which was one of our edge rushers, is going to be moving to middle linebacker to help out Alex Singleton. So I don't think he'll be needed right away, but maybe in the future he could be a big contributor for us. Who knows?
Well, speed, it doesn't matter too much with especially like a thumper middle linebacker. I know Iowa had a guy last year, Jay Higgins, led the team in tackles. I believe his name was Jay Higgins. He ran like a 4.8, but I mean,
Yeah,
he put up some impressive numbers as far as agility. But I mean, as long as they can just get a good run fit, make the tackle, I'd say that's really all you need. But I mean, I'm excited to see him play. Even if it's just special teams. 13 forced fumbles is quite impressive.
yeah. I mean, obviously, it's not in Power 4, but that's still impressive when it comes to just how the game is played nowadays.
But Jonah Coleman, you were frustrated with him. Are you still frustrated?
Uh, I think it probably wasn't a need pick, but the more I look into him, I do think he is gonna be a good contributor. He's basically unstoppable when it comes to the goal line and 3rd and goal and like all the like short yardage situations. I think he's going to be one of our primary red zone backs um, because he had 25 touchdowns in the
It's a
last 2 years,
lot.
I believe, or a little bit more than that. Um, Most of them come on the goal line. He's also exceptional pass blocker.
That's what I was gonna
That's where
say.
he's really good. And I don't think J.K. Dobbins and R.J. Harvey are really great at pass blocking, so I feel like that could really help us. Giving Bo Nix more time to throw is obviously always a good thing. And then he's a decent receiver. I mean, he had 350 receiving yards. Even though R.J. Harvey is really our receiving back, we could maybe slide him in there.
That's what I was gonna say. He's a real foxhole guy. I mean, I remember there was a quote from him where he was like, that what they pay the quarterback a lot more. He's worth a lot more than me, so I got to go block for him and
Mhm.
everything. I think that's something you really want to see out of a guy. He's not too greedy, not just all about getting carries. And like you said, he's a pretty decent receiving back. He kind of reminds me a little bit of RJ Harvey when he was at UCF. A lot of passes out of the backfield and
Mhm.
kind of a smaller guy. I believe RJ is around like 5'7", 5'8". Jonah's
Yeah,
around the
he's
same
not a big
size.
guy. He's not a big
No.
guy.
Well, I mean, he's substantially big, kind of, sideways. I believe he's
Yeah.
pushing 200. Like RJ,
Well,
kind of Jonathan Taylor type backs where they're like 5'8", but like over 200. It's really impressive to see how they fit all of that in one frame. Um, but I mean, you're just kind of building off. He's got a good person to learn from. And I think he's definitely Jonah. I think Jonah's definitely a step up from your other RB4, kind of RB5s, former RB3 and RB4s for the
yeah.
Broncos. Like Jaleel McLaughlin, I feel like he was pretty one dimensional, even though he was pretty
Yeah,
speedy.
he's I feel like in this league, he's just too small. I mean, he's a little guy, and he wasn't really getting the production that we wanted out of him.
I believe Audric Estime is off the team, right? I believe he plays
I think
for the
he might be.
Saints now, but he was just kind of downhill. And J.K. Dobbins, you can count on him to miss, I'd say at least 5+ games a year.
Yeah, and I
So,
was gonna talk about that, like, I mean, I thought, like, our rushing game last year was great when it came to
mhm.
because J.K. Dobbins, I believe, in the early weeks was leading the league in rushing at some point, and then, he comes in, he gets that injury, I think he's been injured every year of his career, is that correct?
I'd say so. I remember he was very explosive at Baltimore, and then what was it? He tore his ACL. I think that was
Yeah.
about 2 years back,
I mean,
3 years back at this
he's
point.
missed a lot of games in his career, so I think it was a really good choice now that I look at that to bring in another guy who you think can kind of work in all facets of the game with RJ Harvey so that we're not just relying on one guy to run the ball.
Hmm. And I remember I was flipping through an old fantasy magazine today, and the Broncos, like you said, they've taken a real big step up in the running game. Like a few years back when Javonte Williams was still your leading carrier rusher,
Mhm.
he only had like 500 yards, and that's kind of disappointing. I'd say the same for the Vikings run game last year. It was quite disappointing. Our leading rusher was Jordan Mason with 700, I believe, like 28 yards. That's like pitiful. I feel like if
I
your
did wanna
team
ask about that. What did they end up doing in the rushing game? I know you wanted them to get Emmett Johnson, obviously did not happen, but did they end up getting anybody that you liked?
They did. I mean, they drafted Max Bradison in episode one. I talked about getting him, but he was a very late round pick for me. I
Yeah.
really don't see any teams drafting a fullback, much less
Mhm.
early. So it surprised me when they took him in the fifth round. But I really like him. CJ Ham retired. He's going to be a new heir. 900 snaps without scoring. So he's a real
Wow.
selfless guy, a great lead blocker. I believe Rich Eisen said you follow him, you score touchdowns. And I mean, it's true. I mean, he's blocked for guys like, uh, you know, Blake Corum. I mean, Doak
Yeah.
Walker Award winner, Donovan Edwards, some real stars at Michigan. And now, he gets to get into a real duo inside zone scheme with the Vikings. And I think that's a good fit. And they drafted Damon Claiborne, 6th round. So I don't know. I wasn't exactly too happy with him. He was sub 1,000 yards in college. I
Yeah,
believe, or was he? I believe he did have 1,000 yards this year, but I believe it was barely 1,000. I think it was 1,004 maybe. But
yeah.
he's not the craziest receiver. But I mean, neither was Dalvin Cook in college, I'd say. And
Hmm.
he's a pretty fair comparison. I was looking at them both, and I'm pretty satisfied with Damon Claiborne now. Ran a 4.37, and he had the
That's
fastest
good.
time at 20 yards in the 40-yard dash at the combine. By 20 yards, he was up to 23 miles an hour. So he's real fast, real barn
Mhm.
burner,
Yeah,
something the Vikings haven't had in a while. And Dalvin ran a 4.49 at the combine, was great for the Vikings, and they're around the same size, both 5'10, both 200.
is
Dalvin
Dalvin
was
Cook
just a little
back
over.
on the Vikings now?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, I've
It
kind of lost track of what was happening with him.
at this point, he was just on the Cowboys, but at this point, he's around the same age as Aaron Jones,
Yeah, he's
and I just really don't think signing him would be a great idea. Maybe like 1 year ago when he came off the Ravens and he was a free agent, you could sign him because the Vikings just keep on bringing back Cam Akers. Not that he's not like great, but he just doesn't see a lot of time, and I don't know. With it, he's an aging running back like Aaron Jones, and I feel like we
mhm,
need some fresh blood in the room, so we can really score in the red zone, which has been a problem.
yeah.
Any other
I did
interesting?
expect him to go more into the running back in the draft. I was expecting an early one out of him.
I was thinking maybe Mike Washington Jr. I mean, he was a big back. He was kind of Adrian Peterson esque. Now that might be heinous to say. It's almost blasphemy, because Adrian's that good. But I mean, Mike Washington's like, I believe 6'2", pushing 230, was very fast. I believe
Big
he
boy.
posted a 4.37 too. Um,
Wow.
and so I was like, "Ooh, that's a nice guy." Reminds me of someone who used to play for the Vikings a little bit ago. But he was actually the third running back taken in the draft very early. Really surprised me. I thought some other guys were going to get taken over him because he didn't
Yeah.
have crazy stats at Arkansas and he's a little older. Any other interesting picks for the Broncos in the draft? I know they weren't, stacking picks like
Yeah.
some other teams, but
And it kind of sucked because they traded away their first round pick. Even though I love the Jalen Waddle trade, I think that was a really good trade. I mean, maybe first round pick wasn't worth it, but
yeah, that's what I was going to
what
say.
else are they going to get really? And it helps that we're finally out of the Russell Wilson cap era where he's taking up all our money each year, so we were able to give him a contract. Uh, Speaking of the receiving game, Justin Jolly, tight end they
I
drafted.
like that at
I did.
NC State, right?
Yeah, I like the pick there. I don't like that they took another tight end. I felt like that was basically useless. They took the Utah guy, Dallin Bentley. I really didn't understand it. Didn't make any sense to me. But Justin Jolly, I think if like I'm not really sure how he's going to transition to NFL because he's not a huge guy and he's not a great blocker, but he'll bring his receiving threat. I mean, he had what 43 catches plus in the last 2 years.
Mhm.
Really good receiver, good at the catch point. I mean, the Broncos, in the last 5 years, like I don't know what's going on with the tight end position here. I really don't. I mean,
Dulcich. Who else
like
was in there?
Dolchich, not a starter. Troutman,
Definitely
decent
not.
blocker, not a starter though. And then we bring in Evan Ingram, and I was so excited about Evan Ingram because on the Jaguars he was really good. And then
Phenomenal. Yeah.
we get him in here. I know he was dealing with some injuries throughout the season, but he really wasn't producing. I mean, Broncos had 3 touchdowns last year from tight ends. Three.
But I
That's
don't
it.
even think the tight end's a primary target for both. Not in addition to the fact that they don't have a good tight end for him to throw for, but it's like I feel
Yeah.
like he targets Cortland a lot. A lot of his outside receivers
Mhm.
catch a lot of passes, especially near the goal line. So, you know,
And yeah, but like I feel like if we add in a tight end and try to at least use him a little bit. I know it's not Sean Payton's forte to use the tight end for anything other than blocking
well,
based off his scheme.
did he have Jimmy Graham? That was from the Saints. He knew how to
That's
use
true.
him. So, I mean, he knows how to make some magic work. But
Mhm.
we'll see this year. We'll see what Justin Jolly, maybe Ingram picks up. Is he still on the Broncos? Did they sign him to a
Who?
2 year? Evan Ingram, is he still on the Broncos?
Yeah, he's still on the
Okay, that's what I
Broncos.
thought. I thought they
Um,
signed him for more than 1 year.
but I mean, if Justin Jolly performs as well as Sean Payton thinks he is. Who knows if Evan Ingram's going to stay on the team?
Fair enough.
But yeah, especially if he can figure out how to block better. I mean, he could be a premier tight end. He's obviously got the physicals.
100%. Broncos signed any UDFAs? I know the Vikings picked up 19.
Uh,
Who
they
knows?
they did sign quite a few guys. Not really interested in most of them. I mean, that's just really what I think. I mean, they're UDFAs, so you got to give them a little grace. But from Nebraska, they signed Dane Key and Deshaun McCullough. Uh, Dane Key, I don't want to say this is why he got signed, but his brother is on the team. So I mean, not a lot of production for Nebraska last year. I mean, he had like 400 yards and 5 touchdowns. So I mean, obviously a run heavy team, but it just he didn't really feel like a premier wide receiver. And then Deshaun McCullough, I mean, he could possibly be an edge rusher. He's got the size. He was pretty productive for Nebraska, but we'll see. He wasn't one of those guys on the team that I was like super excited about.
I did want to make a correction on one of the UDFAs I mentioned earlier in another episode. I believe I mentioned cornerback Tyreek Chappelle. I said he went to UNC and he went to Texas A&M. So I wanted to
Yeah,
make that correction for any
yeah,
watchers that would call me out. But I don't think he might be lined to play the nickel role for the Vikings. But like you said, I don't expect any UDFAs to make a crazy impact for the Vikings. They signed a few wide receivers um, to fill the wide receiver 3 role, but I don't really see either of them making the team. Only 200 yards out of both
And I heard
roles.
you say that that's something they really like
Hmm.
emphasized that they were going to
Yeah,
do, and they
big time.
really didn't. Um,
But Juwan Jennings has had a meeting with the Vikings, so he could potentially fill that wide receiver 3 spot. I'd be very happy with that. But it's also how many targets is he going to get
yeah,
in that scheme? With Jordan Addison on one side. And who's going to play in the slot? They don't really have
yeah,
a designated slot receiver.
that
I
is
remember
true.
in 2022, Justin Jefferson played a lot of the slot, but I mean, you also take a lot of hits, and he's not exactly kind of that slot receiver stocky guy who's built to take those hits. But I'd be happy if he signed with the Vikings. I feel like they could get him for relatively cheap, or they could bring back a veteran, I suppose. It make me real happy to see Diggs back in purple.
Yeah,
Or if they got DeAndre Hopkins, that wouldn't make me bad either.
it would be a dangerous team if they were able to get Stephon Diggs on the team again. I
Yeah.
feel like it would really cause some problems because I mean, if they can get JJ McCarthy to perform, I mean, decent, like they could be a really good team because they have all the pieces.
If Diggs causes as many problems on the field as he does off the field, I think they'd be really good. And
Yeah,
hopefully, I hate to say it, I love JJ to death, but please don't let him touch the field this year. They signed Kyler Murray for like
yeah,
a
that's
million
true. I forgot about
dollars.
that.
$1 million. The Cardinals are covering the rest of his salary, but it's only a
Yeah,
1 year thing. So I want him to squeeze the most at Kyler Murray because if he does really good, you know he's going to want a big bag at this
yeah.
point. And I'm not sure if the Vikings can afford it. I figure if he's good, they wouldn't make the same mistake twice that they did with Sam Darnold, and they'd probably retain him. But I'm also scared to see what KOC does with a scrambler in a Vikings team. Because if he lets him work his magic, Joshua Dobbs' insanity run. I understand it's a insanity run for a reason, but when they let him scramble, when they let him play, he played his game and they won a few games. But when they started kind of forcing him into that box of being a pocket passer, I mean, against the Broncos, we saw it happened, and then against the Bears when he threw like 5 interceptions, you can't force a scrambler kind of into a pocket, and it seems like the Vikings are a pocket passing team. But I'd like
And,
to
and I
see Kyler succeed.
and I feel like that's kind of what the Cardinals did. I feel like the Cardinals didn't let him really run. They kind of tried to make him use his arm to beat teams, and that's not really what he was doing in college.
But there's no QB competition in Denver. But
No.
when is Bo Nix going to make it back post injury? I know he had to get surgery on the ankle, but is he going to be cleared week 1?
I'm pretty sure he's going to be cleared week 1. I think he's even going to be good to go pretty soon here. Um, I know he had surgery like really soon after the injury, so he was right back into it. And yeah, I really expect a big season out of him. I mean, He's got all the receiving threats. I think he's got the running back room as long as J.K. Dobbins can stay healthy. I think the O line is good. Um, yeah, I think honestly, if you want, this is not bias, but the Broncos are going to win the Super Bowl this year. I think we all know this.
Well, I'd say that the
I would
Vikings would
put
beat them
money on
there.
it
I'd
right
say the
now.
Vikings would. I think the Vikings have a fair chance of beating them there. They're being pretty sneaky about things. But I would say that if Bo Nix does not break his ankle, if the Bills do not kind of say
Yeah,
if I'm going down, you're going down with me. I think the Broncos had a fair shot. I think they probably win the Super Bowl that year. And
yeah. I mean, I don't. I think 100% they're beating the Patriots. Like, I had no doubt in my mind.
no, the Patriots had a close game with Jarrett Stidham quarterbacking. Started 4 games in his entire career on that season. You know, if they can, if the Patriots need to run flea flickers and like these weird plays to win, can't beat them straight up. You can't beat them at all. And
Jared Stidham basically threw them a touchdown on his own
he
with
did.
that
Yeah,
stupid
that
fumble.
was that was pretty bad.
But
But
then,
is what it is.
I'm not sure how they would have matched up with the Seahawks. I think it would have been a closer game than the Patriots, or than the Patriots were. Win or lose, you never
Yeah,
know. But
you
we're
know,
back at it again.
I think the Broncos' offensive line wouldn't just be straight traffic cones, and Drake May wouldn't be getting viciously touched by defensive linemen every single
What do you
play.
mean? Will Campbell's the best tackle in the league. What do you mean?
Well, up until the playoffs, he was making good on that Amazon quote, and then I think during the playoffs he probably filed a job application for the warehouse, Amazon warehouse near where Peyton lives. So, um, but that's it. That is what it is. What it is. I the Vikings offensive line I hope is a little better. They had a lot of issues last year, some injuries with Christian Darrisaw, Brian O'Neill, two bookend tackles that couldn't stay healthy, and then Ryan Kelly really left us high and dry, retired,
Yeah,
and they made a guard. Or well, Blake Brandel's played all over the line, but they're converting into center. So I think there could be some center comp. They drafted a center, 7th round. It's the 7th round, but offensive lineman can be found anywhere. I'd say that, and he seems like he's a real good run blocker, which is what we need. So I would expect some things to shake up on the offensive line just a little, but nothing crazy. Maybe some third string guys prove their second string guys. But how's Broncos offensive line looking?
I think it's really actually pretty good. We get possibly Ben Powers back. He was injured last year. At left guard or left right guard, whichever one Quinn Miners doesn't play. But he's dealing with some injuries again now, so you never know. We also drafted in the 4th round Cage Gate or Casey. He's a tackle from Boise State.
Okay.
Um, he possibly I've heard stuff saying that he's going to be a guard or a center because they have concerns with his arm length and kind of his explosiveness. So I think he's probably going to play a guard or center position, even though we have two tackles that are now in their 30s. Mike McGlinchey is 31, Garrett Bowles is 33. So,
Ball
you
still
know,
performs though.
yeah, but you never know, And
It,
once you get in your 30s, it's kind of shady what's going to happen. But yeah, he's looking to be probably a swing tackle if he's ready by the time the season comes. But yeah, I could see him probably switching into one of those guard or center roles. Apparently, he took some really smooth center reps at the
rookie minicamp or something.
At Boise State's
Oh,
like pro day. So
okay.
maybe this year, a few years in the future, we could see him slide in and play. So you
Yeah,
never
but,
know.
hate to dog on Will Campbell again, but if you ever needed more proof that a tackle shouldn't have short arms, there you go. So I mean, past that, I mean the Vikings defensive line. I don't know what they're gonna do. I know Flores, he likes running the 3-3-3-4 kind of stuff.
Mhm.
And I was looking at it and they just signed another defensive end. And I'm like, what are you doing? They got
Yeah,
last episode I said they had 5 starting caliber defensive tackles. That's not counting the rest. And the three front that they run, the defensive ends are still other defensive tackles. I believe it has someone listed as a nose guard, but then it has Jalen Redmond at one end. And another defensive tackle playing the other end. So it's like, what are you even going to do with the defensive ends that you're signing?
Yeah.
Because Dallas Turner and Andrew Van Ginkel are going to be the ones playing the ends and rushing the passer. So I wouldn't be surprised if they go back to a 4-4 like they used to run with, Daniil Hunter, Linval Joseph, Everson Griffin. And,
Mhm.
oh, man, I'm forgetting the other defensive tackle, but I'd like to see them go back to a four front, a 4-3, 4-2, somewhere around
Yeah.
there.
And didn't they I could be mistaken, but didn't they draft 2 defensive linemen in the draft?
They did. They drafted Caleb Banks first round, and if he beats the injury concerns, I have real confidence he could be really good. They
Mhm.
drafted Big Citrus out of Iowa State, Dominic Orange, another defensive tackle. But it's like there's just so much depth there. I'm just confused on what the plan is. These guys might not see the field, and for using such high picks on them, it's like you
Yeah.
really want them to.
Well, that's kinda how I felt about some of, like, people like Jonah Coleman, like, I didn't know if he was gonna see the field like, at all, and they've taken him as their 2nd pick when middle linebacker was such a big need.
Mhm. I felt the opposite way. Like the Vikings drafted a linebacker second round, and I did not feel like that was a need at all. Jake Golday, he seems pretty solid. He's a bit of a tweener, like an Andrew Van Ginkel, who can play a little bit of off-ball linebacker, but like an outside off-ball linebacker, and then can rush the passer. He's real
Yep.
good for Cincinnati. I believe he had like 80 plus tackles. He's a real hard hitter. He's like 6'4", 240 pounds pushing. But it's like they just re-signed Eric Wilson, had one of the best PFF grades as a middle linebacker off ball. Ivan Pace, I really feel he should get some more playing time. Rookie year, had one of the best coverage rates as a linebacker. And then
Yeah.
Blake Cashman, who's been playing pretty good. I know he does have some injury concerns, but I didn't think the linebacker room needed more depth than they just added another one. But
Mhm.
I have confidence he'll be good. Have the Broncos released any new rookie jersey numbers? I know that's always something exciting
I
to
didn't
see.
I did not look actually, so I'm not sure, but, I know you were gonna talk about somebody's rookie
Yeah.
number.
Caleb Banks is wearing the number 95, which I do like. Peyton knows my beef with out of position numbers.
Yeah.
When you're a teenager and you go work at a fast food joint, you can go wear your polo. It's your uniform, but it's all right. That's like college. Go wear whatever number you want. You can go be a stud. When you get to the NFL, it's like putting on your suit and tie. You're a defensive end. Go wear number 99, not number
Yeah.
3. Go wear some dog number, not some
Yeah.
little pretty princess number 11. I don't want to see that. But Caleb Banks, number 95, but he did wear number 88 in college. And the number 88 is retired by the Minnesota
Yep.
Vikings because Alan Page wore it. But I'm sure if Caleb Banks has a nice meeting with the family and if he's producing, I feel like Alan Page might sign off for him. I mean, we saw Phil
Mhm.
Simms almost sign off for less with that Bill Carter, but his family said no, and I'm happy they did. But I feel like Caleb Banks is a good guy, and if he can get the number 88, bring it back, real purple people eater, that'd be pretty cool to see.
Well, whenever I hear about, like, jerseys not being retired, I always think about, Michael Irvin, how he talks about how he's just farming them through, Des Bryant, CeeDee Lamb.
I like it though. He says whenever CD catches a pass, they go, Mike would have caught that. Mike catches that pass. That's something Mike would do. But when he drops the pass, they're like,
Mike
Mike
never
wouldn't have
dropped
dropped that pass. Mike would never drop that pass. And so, it's some good marketing there. I like that. He'd be someone I'd run through a brick wall for. And I hate saying that, it's the Cowboys. But you know, it's whatever. Um, I'm trying to think what's going on with the Broncos, the DB room. Has there been any changes there? Do you think I know every team signs at least a few DBs like UDFA. Do you think there might be some shakeups there?
There was I can't remember his name, but he's from Cal. He's a more of a press corner. UDFA, I don't know. I mean, he struggled. He's not speedy, so like in press, do you really want a guy
More or
carrying?
less handsy than Riley Moss?
I,
I'd say
I'm
it's
not
pretty hard
sure.
to be
I don't
more.
know if you can get more handsy than Riley Moss, but I'm actually very interested in what the Broncos cornerback room is going to look like because you know, obviously Pat Surtain, he's the number one. Riley Moss is the number two. But in the slot, they've had Jaquan McMillan, but they also have, Chris Abrams Drain and Jade Barron that I'm
With
sure.
Jade, I did like that pick. Anyone to get. Oh my gosh. Was it Levi Wallace? Who wore number 39? Oh
Oh,
my
it was Levi
goodness.
Wallace.
He was
Oh
getting
my
his butt handed to him.
They put him on Jerry Judy that one game, and it was just like, what are you
As long
doing?
as
He's
he's
got
out of
two
the cornerback
touchdowns
room,
in
you're in
like
good
three
hands.
three catches. Take him out of the game. And I think that's why they got Chris Abrams-Drain in the next draft in like the 5th round or something. And then, or no, they had him that year, and they took Levi Wallace out and put him in. And also Levi Wallace after that game got cut. That makes sense. And then they have Jahdae Barron. I don't know who they're gonna put in. Like, I know one of those guys is gonna start playing, but I like having that amount of depth at the DB position,
I think
especially with having who I think are really underrated safety, Brandon Jones, and then Talanoa Hufanga. Like, that creates what I believe is either the first or second best DB room in the league.
I think the Talanoa is really good. And in fact, the new Viking safety, Jacoby Thomas, has been compared to him. And I'm pretty happy with that. I'm pretty happy with that.
Mhm.
But as far as the corner room, I think there needs to be a little more help there. Now they signed James Pierre. He had a pretty good pass defense rates and deflections at Pittsburgh. I understand he's a little older though. Isaiah Rogers has been great.
Yeah,
He's another, I guess, wide kind of field corner. And then they have Byron Murphy playing in the slot. They drafted Charles Devins. Love that guy. Very athletic corner. But I feel like, if they could add another guy, I feel they're in pretty good hands. And, Kenny Moore is looking for a trade. So I'd hope the
yeah,
Vikings go jump on that like they didn't jump on Asante Samuel Jr. Kind of wanted him. But, not a lot of corners hit the market, it seems. And
yeah. Well, this
hopefully
corner's
the
one of like
Vikings figure something out.
right now. Yeah, I think they would. I think Kenny Moore would probably excel in their system. He's more of obviously a nickel guy, but he's the highest paid for a reason. He's a really good corner, and I think if I'm the Colts, like with Sauce on the team, obviously you haven't seen much of him, but maybe Kenny Moore getting rid of that cap room might be a good option for you with Sauce on the team.
Mhm.
So who knows?
And then hopefully, Harrison Smith decides to return. I understand he'll be like 38, but I mean, he still hits pretty hard and he can mentor some young safeties. And, I'd really want to see him get a ring. Um, I really want to see, I just want to see the Vikings get a ring before I die. Hopefully that happens.
I
Um,
think I think you're in good hands for that to
I
happen.
think they're in good hands right now, like you said, but the safety room's looking a little dry. I think it's just Theo Jackson, Josh Metellus. I was really sad to see Bynum go, but I understand they couldn't pay him. But that was a year back. But yeah, no, I think the Vikings DB room, it should get the job done. The Vikings defense, I feel like, has never been like super consistent and just like holding teams to like 0 yards, but they do force a lot of turnovers, do get a lot of sacks. I do love them fantasy football every year. They're
Yeah.
usually my first defense pick. Yeah.
Mhm.
This guy stole them from me, broke my heart this year, broke my heart. I
Dude,
had to
I
drop
had
Pittsburgh's
to.
defense, you know. But I think the Vikings defense should look up a little more run stopping instead of being just straight cheeks. 21st. I don't think I've ever seen the
That's
Vikings be ranked
rough. And
21st in run
it's
defense.
crazy because they have so many sacks, but, like, when it comes to stopping the run, it's just not there. And I know that could obviously come a little bit with their coverage. I mean, their linebackers, I think, are really at least Ivan Pace is really good in coverage, so that could also go with the sacks, but, yeah, it's surprising to see that with the rush game.
Broke my heart when they traded Harrison Phillips to the Jets. I understand it was for a pick to get Adam Thielen, who they didn't use.
Yeah.
But Harrison Phillips, that also freaking broke my heart too. Went to a doctor's appointment, completely optional, by the way. And this
Okay.
guy got to see my freaking hero at football practice. But that's a story for another time. But I can't really think everything else. I think you've covered it all, man. You're prepared.
Yeah.
So
Also, I just wanted to real quick slander Dre Greenlaw because we traded for him and I was super happy for him. And all he did the whole season was just get kicked out of games and do absolutely nothing. I just wanted to get that off my chest because it just pissed me off. It really did.
and a
And
little
now
bit
we
of
have to get a linebacker need again, which I
and
thought
a,
was Phil.
and a little bit of talk. Hate to say it, I really liked them in 2024. A little bit to slander Jonathan Grenard. He's saying the Vikings did not have the facilities. A- on the grade card, by the way. He said they did not have the environment, the locker room environment. We saw nine. We saw nine. He was getting up in there, that locker room
Mine is
time.
some
What are
great
you
Washington
talking about?
environment.
What are you talking about? You're about the Philadelphia Eagles. They had a happy bunny or whatever in the locker room. They popped it like day one. I don't want to hear anything. 3 sacks out of you, and you're talking like that. You know, I wish them the best on the Eagles. We got a good pick for them. But come on, man, you can't be slandering your team like that. They brought you back, man. You at Houston, you were gonna be gone. They had Daniil. And oh my gosh, man, who's the other? Oh man, I feel Will Anderson Jr. Man, you're a dinosaur, man. They're the asteroid,
Yeah.
and you came to the Vikings, and now you're talking like this. But alas, alas, I could be talking all crazy, and then the Vikings get like 2 sacks. So
Yeah.
he had a good pressure rate, but you can't just be doing that. Can't be dogging on a team like that, man.
Yeah.
But I think that's it. Maybe that'll be have to be somehow incorporated into my podcast. A little bit of venting about some player, venting about some team. I
I
think we'll
hope
get into that.
Dre Greenlaw sees this. I hope he
Yeah, yeah.
sees it.
We'll send it to him. I'll follow him on Insta when I make an account for
Okay.
this. I'll send him episode 6. Um, but yeah, no, I think that's about it. Thanks for joining me, Peyton. It's truly a pleasure, man.
Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. It's
And
fun.
I think, well, this is something to see later in the season. I'll probably have you on a lot more, and I'll probably be posting a lot more in the season. I'm sorry, I
Get
haven't had
me
a great
get me on
posting schedule.
mid-season with Aiden Garcia so I can talk my stuff to him.
Broncos Chiefs week. You heard it. Aiden
Yeah,
Garcia,
Broncos
Peyton
Chiefs week.
Bradshaw.
So
That's
we'll
a
talk. We'll
that's
talk
a
about it.
3 guy episode. So we'll be looking forward to that. Thanks, Peyton. Everyone, thank you for watching another episode of Josh Talks Vikes. If you have anything you want to tell me about, some stats, storylines, players you want me to follow, email me at joshtalksvikes@gmail.com. I'm feeling kind of lonely. I haven't gotten any emails yet, so maybe we can pick that up. Drop a
Yeah.
comment, maybe, and if you really like it, drop a like, drop a sub. And thank you so much for joining me, Peyton. Until next time, guys. Thank you.
Yeah. It was great.